Alright, so today we're covering the nitrogen cycle. And the nitrogen cycle is the movement of nitrogen through the earth. And so nitrogen, most of our atmosphere, about 78% of our atmosphere is nitrogen gas. So N2 is nitrogen gas. And so we have a lot of it in the air. Some of it actually moves into the ground. And so we actually call these nitrogen fixing bacteria. And you can find this nitrogen fixing bacteria just hanging out in the ground. You can also find them in the root system of plants. So here I have plants. And so in the root system, you have these nodules. And in the nodules are these nitrogen fixing bacteria. And what they do is they take nitrogen out of the air, and they convert it into ammonia. So NH4 plus is called ammonium. And then there's another set of bacteria called nitrifying bacteria. And that turns it into two things. One is NO2 minus and NO3 minus. NO2 minus is called nitrite, and NO3 minus is called nitrate. And the cool thing about nitrate is nitrate can be used in plants. So nitrate is something that can be taken up by the root system. So here's another plant, and so it can be taken up by the root system, and it could be used as a source of nitrogen. So this can be taken up into the plant system, so we'll say source of nitrogen for plants. And the main thing we need nitrogen for actually is amino acids, which are used to make protein as well as DNA. So we get a lot of nitrogen from our eating plants. But how does it get back in the air? Well, what happens is there's another set of bacteria, and this is called denitrifying. So these are called denitrifying bacteria. And what they do is they take the NO3, the nitrate, and then convert back to N2 until you have your cycle here. Okay? And so we'll review it one more time. I'll do it in red. So there's nitrogen in the air. Some of that nitrogen gets absorbed by nitrogen-fixing bacteria that convert the nitrogen into ammonia. Then we have in the soil, you have nitrifying bacteria that convert it into nitrite and nitrate. Nitrate is cool because it's able to be taken up by the root system as a source of nitrogen. The leftover nitrate gets returned to the atmosphere, and who does that? They're called denitrifying bacteria. Animals and humans? How do we play a role in this? Well, there's actually we can actually play a role of this ammonium. So what happens is when fertilizer is really high in ammonium. And so if you fertilize and this is a big problem in farms and that kind of stuff, if you over-fertilize, what happens is it runs off, and it actually causes an increase in ammonium. And then the other one is animals, especially like farm animals. When they when they excrete feces, the feces is really high in nitrogen, and so when it runs off, it also increases the amount of ammonium. So animal feces. And so oftentimes you'll see farmers use like cow dung or chicken feces or whatever to fertilize, because nitrogen is really important for plant growth. What happens though is when some of this fertilizer or feces, when it runs off into the ocean or rivers, what it does is it causes this algae bloom, because nitrogen is so necessary for plant growth and algae growth. And what happens is you have this huge algae bloom, and the algae, what it does is it takes up a lot of the oxygen, and so what happens is you end up with a dead zone. And so you have this huge algae bloom, takes up a bunch of oxygen, and then you get this dead zone. So a lot of fish die, a lot of plants die, that kind of stuff. And so at the Gulf of the Mississippi River, you imagine the Mississippi River is a pretty long river, so a lot of stuff gets dumped into it. And so where it reaches the Gulf of Mexico, the ocean, there's a huge dead zone. And the reason why is because of the fertilizer and feces runoff. So here are the main terms. Remember, there are 3 types of bacteria. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria is the one that takes takes the nitrogen gas from the atmosphere and makes it into ammonium. Nitrifying bacteria, which is found in the soil, takes the ammonium and converts it into nitrite and nitrate. Nitrate's the good one because it can be taken up into plant roots for growth. And then the nitrate gets the rest of the nitrate that hangs around. There's denitrifying bacteria that returns it to the nitrogen gas.